Welcome to the Quantum Revenue Expansion Podcast. My name is Ursula, and I'm a sales expert, strategic business coach, and USA Today bestselling author. I love sharing strategies that show you exactly how to turn your annual revenue into your monthly revenue. If you're looking to take a quantum leap in your revenue or sales, your team, your productivity, your success, and your life, then you are meant to be here. My goal in every episode is to help you take your belief that it's possible to 2x or 10x your revenue while working way less to knowing that it is happening right now. Everybody, and welcome back to Quantum Revenue Expansion, where we talk about turning your annual revenue into your monthly revenue. And super excited, as always excited. I have a very special guest today, and I've gotten to hang out with her lately. I'm part of an incredible event that she's putting together, which we will definitely tell you about at the end. So hello to Nicki Hu, who is here today to talk about activating your self-expression. Hi, Nicki, and welcome to the show.
Hello, everyone. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm excited. We were having a little pre-conversation. I'm always like, all right, don't say too much because I feel like you're going to say something really good and then it won't be on the show. So super excited to have you here. Thank you for coming. And in a moment, I'll introduce Nicki. Before we get there, just a couple of reminders. If you haven't grabbed the Belief Zone Masterclass yet, I highly recommend you do. It's a 3-part class, 3 hours total. So it's not tons of your time, but it will help you unlock any limiting beliefs you might have about creating the next level in your quantum revenue plan. So anything that might be getting you stuck, whether it's a limiting belief about yourself or about money, it could be, about the clients you want to work with. And then we also talk about how to really create that next level quantum revenue expansion plan and just other little pieces that'll help catapult you and help you take that quantum leap that you've been thinking about. So that's our gift for you. If you haven't grabbed it yet, details are in the show notes. And with that, let me tell you about Nicki. She is a multi-dimensional healer and transformational coach supporting visionaries and entrepreneurs to expand their mission and vision through healing and energy mastery. So you can tell why we are so excited to have her here with us. She specializes in healing emotional trauma and spiritual blocks, as well as energy activations, allowing individuals to connect with their personal power and cultivate a more authentic way of living, which is the time we're in right now. Like, interesting time in the world, the perfect time to be creating and growing a business if that's what you're doing right now. And Nicki's going to help us do it more easily. So Nicki, tell us a little bit about yourself, your story, like what brought you into this very interesting realm of energy and transformation.
Well, Ursula, I did not expect to be on this path. I think like most people, I had a very traditional background growing up. My parents were immigrants, so for their dream was for me to have a stable career, go have a good education, a stable career, and to live a better life than they did. But growing up and going through the traditional educational system and then getting a normal job, I felt like 2 years into my corporate job, it wasn't enough. Like my soul was calling for more. I didn't know what that was. So I said, you know what? Why don't I just follow that intuition and let myself explore? Because I knew that there were so many people outside who owned their own businesses, who had financial freedom, who also had time freedom. Whereas for me, that was something I desired. And so I left my corporate job in search of what comes next, right? And it was through exploration, working with different coaches, trying so many different things to see what fit the feeling. Yeah. What was the external thing that fit the feeling inside of me? And through building my business as an entrepreneur led me to the people that I was going to meet who are going to help me on this path of really the deeper inner work. I was looking outside, looking at the strategies, looking at the marketing. Nothing was working. And it was because the missing piece was the internal, the energetic, and the healing that was missing. And so by design, I guess, led me into becoming a healer and being on my spiritual path through my own personal growth journey
Yeah.
in my.
Oh my gosh, so much to unpack there. And I'm going to have you talk just a tad bit louder because I don't want anyone to miss what you're going to talk about next. And for our listeners, sometimes it's a little bit like with techie stuff. So I'm just asking, I'm like, Nicki, we got to hear this because it's so good. Because you just said something like, this is the whole show is, unleashing your self-expression and unleashing your activating your self-expression, activating it so that others can receive it. Others can hear that frequency that you're putting out in the world. Because so often, and I know you do this too, we meet business owners who are amazing. They have amazing products. They have amazing services. They seemingly are doing all the right things. They're checking the right boxes, right? They're putting their marketing out. They're putting their sales out. And I know in my own experience, like there've been times in my business where I'm like, okay, I have checked every box, Nicki, and something is just not working with whatever the thing is, right? So for everyone who's listening, I'm inviting you to take notes and really relax into this and really receive the information, because this is one of the things where, one of the things, Nicki, that you bring to the world is helping activate this in others and really helping them see that. So for someone who's out there and like the clients you work with who seemingly they're doing all the things. They're checking the marketing boxes, right? They're having the sales conversations, and yet something doesn't seem to be working. What's going on?
In my personal experience, what I've seen is that there is a misalignment in how you express what it is that you do. So even in the entrepreneurial field, we have these blueprints to follow. You should do XYZ. This is how you write sales copy. This is how you market, and this is how you build your business. But there is a personal touch to every business. There's a personal component, and that is you. So people hire you for who you are and the energy that you bring. And for many of us who are on this path, self expression is a core component of expressing our brand identity, our beliefs, and our values. People work with you because they value the things that you value, or your beliefs and the gifts that you bring. So if we're standing behind this wall of this is the template of what success looks like, but there's a million coaches who have the same exact template. Why should they choose you? Right? Why should they work with you? And the self-expression is that component. It's the essence of who you are and how that is delivered to others.
Yeah. I've taken a lot of notes, lots to unpack there. It's like what I'm hearing you say. It's kind of like a fingerprint, right? It's your personal blueprint of your essence. And so Nicki, when you talk about it, does your essence broadcast a specific frequency, a specific vibration? Like, how do people receive, or how do people know that, oh, Nicki's the coach for me versus somebody else?
Yes, I would say everyone has a unique frequency. And the way that you experience this is through the things that you produce and the things that you put out there. So, for example, your voice carries a unique frequency. Your thoughts, your beliefs, those all carry a unique frequency. Oftentimes, what we do is like we have this wall of protection. If I share something so vulnerable that happened to me, I feel like somebody would judge me. And so I'm not going to put that out there because I fear that they judge me, they see me as weak. It's not something that's marketable, right? We're all talking about marketability. It's not marketable. When in fact, your unique challenge, the things that you've gone through, that's part of your energetic signature. And that is exactly what someone else on the other side might be struggling with and need the solution to.
You use the word trauma in your bio, and a lot of people are like, it's a word that's used a lot. It's a word that I use, and I definitely can relate to it. and have talked about it. And then in some circles, it's like, or there's some coaches who are very clear that they don't want to work with people's trauma. They're like, no, like that's not their thing. And yet I kind of have a feeling that in the work that you do, healing the emotional trauma can be the key to the lock that opens up what's on the other side of that. Am I on the right track? Or how do you see trauma in the work that you do with your clients?
So I would say trauma is like an experience that you've had that left an imprint on
Mm.
your belief system, on the way that you show up in the world. In my personal experience, like trauma is not, it doesn't have to be like a huge, devastating thing that happened to you. It could be a micro experience that you've experienced over and over again that has left this imprint. So I'll give a personal example. Like for me, being right or being wrong was a very big component of my journey. And I grew up again. My parents would always say, like, this is the correct way to be successful. Get a normal job and have a stable family, and you retire at a certain age, and that is like the epitome of success. So when I wanted to, and we had this conversation on our interview, it was like when I wanted to become an artist, I was told art wasn't going to get you anywhere. But that wasn't the only instance that I was told my dreams don't matter, right? It was like
Mm.
um, these little instances in my life. Oh, I would love to do this. And then I would experience where my parents or somebody else would say, well, that's not the right way to do it, or that's not the correct way. And those experiences left an imprint where it was like, my thoughts, my feelings, my dreams don't matter. And therefore, other people don't see value in it. And that could be
Mm.
considered an emotional trauma.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so what you're talking about too is that maybe a generational piece, because for your parents, that meant success for them. That was their blueprint. And then, but you saw something else. You had a heart's desire for freedom in a different way, and that time freedom and that money freedom. And so just, and I love what you said too, like trauma can be trauma doesn't mean that you had this horrible, horrible, horrible thing happen, although it could mean that, right? It could just be small kind of micro traumas, which is an interesting way to think about it. It's like this thing that keeps happening over and over again. So in your work with your clients, Nicki, is there, like, when you think about you've worked with so many different clients and different things, are there any stories or like case studies that you want to share, or examples of where you've worked with a client, they had this sort of trauma without sharing, of course, their personal information, and then they had this outcome on the other side because they were able to unlock something? Does anything come to mind for you?
Oh, yes, absolutely. So, one of the things one of my clients, I would say, like, she had this belief about money. She knew that she wanted to have a luxurious experience in life, right? She wanted to be successful. And so, coming from her background, going back into her childhood, there was an instance where she saw her father growing his business, but because his business grew, his expenses grew. And she
Mm.
remembers seeing that he would hand money over to the debt collectors, or like people who asked, like they were collecting money from the money that he made. And so subconsciously, she had this belief that, oh, if I made more money, somebody's going to come and steal my money. They're going to come and take my money away. Now, there's multiple layers to this, because even though that was an experience in childhood, there's also like this ancestral belief that women are not allowed to make more money than their husbands. And so there's like a
Mm.
layer to this experience where she did not feel comfortable being more successful than her husband. And that
Wow.
actually went back in her business. And so once we started removing these layers, she came back to me next week and she's like, I raised my prices and I sold a package. And it was like, Oh my goodness.
By really making that connection and clearing it and seeing how she wasn't her father. It wasn't the same situation. Are there specific modalities that you use, Nikki, or certain ways that you work with your clients?
So my preferred method is like energy healing. And there's also like different combinations of energy healing. My guides would normally tell me exactly how to move through healing that experience, whether we have to go back to childhood, whether the blockage is an ancestral block or an energetic block from a past life. Like I've had many experiences where my clients were afraid to step into their leadership role because of persecution in a past life. And that was something that didn't happen to them in this life, but it was a trauma experience in a past life. So, but mainly energy healing.
One of the things you mentioned was money and how it showed up for this client. And in your, in your own journey as an entrepreneur, did you have any limiting beliefs about money? Did you have any things that you needed to clear or heal about money so that you could grow your business? And I'm going to invite you to talk a little bit louder again. For some reason, I'm just having a hard time hearing you.
Yes, absolutely. Of course I did. Of course I had limiting beliefs around money. Um, in my experience, money was tied to my value. So I felt like my mom valued money more than she valued me. And because of that, I based my value on my productivity and the amount of money that I made. So in the beginning of my journey, when I didn't see like clients and I didn't see, um, I guess, like, certain productivity measures being met, I associated that with failure, of being a failure. And because I associated myself with being a failure, it impacted the way that I showed up to continue to sell to people because I just kind of assumed that they were interconnected. Oh, I didn't sell anything must mean that I'm a failure, must mean that nobody actually wants to buy my stuff. And it was a really complicated like relationship between self-worth, self-value, and like money and productivity. But being able to heal and kind of disconnect the two and realize my value has nothing to do with the amount of money that I make. And my value has nothing to do with the productivity or what the external world is reflecting back to me. It's just like a feedback. It's just feedback. Oh, maybe, this marketing tactic is not working. Let me try to send a different email out, right? It says nothing about me.
So really not making it personal,
Exactly.
recognizing it's not about you, recognizing that like it's just feedback. I love that. It's just feedback. It's not about me. I can make shifts in my marketing or whatever I'm doing. So when it comes to really activating your self-expression, what have we not talked about today that you want to make sure our listeners understand?
In terms of self expression, what comes down to the main component is about voice. It's about being able to share your story authentically and being able to speak up about certain things that are important to you. I feel like especially multi like passionate entrepreneurs, we don't know how to exactly say, oh well, I value family and I value my business and I value all these other things, but it's encompassing the wholeness of who you are and being able to share that with other people. That's part of the self-expression. That's like how I said the art piece, for example. Like,
Mhm.
how do I integrate that part of me in what I do and express it in the things that I am currently already doing and making it a more enriching like experience versus I'm just going to shut that component of myself out and because it's not in alignment with what I'm currently doing.
Mhm. Yeah. So is it kind of, would you say too, it's really listening, it's listening to the whispers, listening to your true heart's desires or what you're saying to yourself. It's kind of what's behind the behind. like we're not always listening to ourselves, right? So we might be expressing, but we might like it's like the stories we're afraid to share or other things that are popping up or saying what we really want. Like how do you hear it? Is it whispers? Like I might hear a whisper of like go do this thing or I really want to change something in my life or my business, but maybe I don't listen to that whisper right away. Like how does that show up for you or your clients in terms of really activating self-expression?
I would say it's following your most, like, your highest passion and your highest joy. So that shows up for me in where I feel called to make a switch in my business. Like, I feel called, I want to put out something that I've never put out before. And then it
Mhm.
comes up with, oh, well, you've never done that before. So maybe you shouldn't do that. Stick to what's comfortable, stick to what you know.
Mhm.
And I've known other people to experience the same thing. I really, really, really want to talk about, right? Like, I really want to help people heal X, Y, and Z because that's what I healed. But
Mhm.
it's not marketable. Like,
Mhm.
right? But in reality, anything that you do can tie into like the umbrella and in fact can encompass um like the wholeness, right? The theme of what your business is all about.
Mhm. Sure. Beautiful. So what do you think, Nikki, what do people get wrong about self-expression or you just feel like the world doesn't understand and so it creates a challenge and like in other words it's like why people come to work with you. What do they get wrong about it? What do they not know that you wish they knew?
I would say self expression is not something that you have to actively do. It's really about a beingness of who you are, and everything that you do is your expression of self, right? Though
Mhm.
from the clothes that you wear to the way that you do your hair to the way that you treat people, it is an expression of who you are.
Mhm.
And so I feel like self expression is not just something that you say or do and you put out there on your business. It's about being who you are in all aspects of life. So just showing up, being yourself, being able to speak about the things that you're passionate about, that's all encompassing self expression.
Mhm. Mhm. Do you have any exercises or that you take your clients through or anything you would like to do with our listeners to kind of help them in this space or help them open up to this even more or even help them heal something?
Yes. So I would love to do an inner child visualization, and
Perfect.
anyone
Let's
can
do
do
it.
this.
Okay.
So, first, you would close your eyes.
Provided you're
And,
not driving or on a treadmill. I always say that disclaimer. Okay, go ahead. Sorry. We're all closing our eyes. Got it.
and I want you to go back to a happy moment in your childhood where you were the most open, you were the most yourself. You just carefree, playful, laughing, giggling. And you had all of these dreams of wanting to, and it doesn't matter what it is that you wanted to be, whether you wanted to be a princess, an astronaut, a wizard, anything that you wanted. And notice the feeling that you felt when it was like the world did not matter. You were in your own bubble. You were safe, you were accepted, and you were loved for just being you. And as you connect with this energy, I want you to bring in the safety of your parents into this visualization. So, having higher self of mom and higher self of dad stepping in and giving you the validation, the support, and the encouragement to keep playing. And now just allow yourself to come back to the screen.
Thank you. That was so beautiful. And I love how you called out the higher self of our parents, right? Meaning that part of them that, not the part that had their own traumas, but the part that could be there for us in a different way. That was really lovely. Um, I almost started crying, Nikki. It was so beautiful. I was back. I was like 10 and I was with my horse who I loved dearly. And we used to have the greatest time together. So that was really, really fun, really beautiful. And just for so our listeners understand, like when they do this exercise, and what's great is we're recording this so they can go back and listen to it again. When they're doing this exercise, like how can it help them? What is like, are we meant to take this feeling forward? Like what's next after we gather the feeling?
Yes. So I'll break down a little bit because there's multiple components to a healing exercise. Part of it is restoring the part of you that didn't feel validation from your
Mm,
parents. So that's why
hmm.
we brought in the parents, because as children, a lot of our experiences teach us that what's acceptable and not acceptable as an adult, right? And so being able to bring in your parents to give you that validation, safety, and emotional connection is restoring that part of you that needed that from them when you were younger. The other part about feeling the joy, feeling the imagination, and the connection to such a joyful, innocent time in your life, that is the energy of like that you want to bring into your world now, right? Instead of feeling like you're not able to express your creativity, that you're not able to be this playful person. When you tune into that, you're reconnecting with the energy of this is actually what it feels like to feel safe so that I can express my creativity and that I can be playful and joyful in the things that I do.
Beautiful. Yeah, it was like it was such a beautiful shift. And um and I think it's, as sort of hard driving entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs who are always working on our businesses, we forget the importance of doing this work, right? Like that this could be the key or the linchpin or the thing that opens up the next quantum leap in our business. So thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Is there anything, Nikki, that you haven't shared that you want to share before you tell us about your upcoming event?
I would say the first thing that comes to mind is truly experience joy and presence right now. Like
Mm,
being in the present moment and making it as joyful as possible.
yeah, beautiful. Sage advice that we all need to remember, especially as we come through a very, I've been saying it's an interesting year since the start of COVID. So there you go. Continuing to be in that energetic space. I know there's a couple things. So you have a free gift. And I think then you want to talk about not our, well, I'm part of it, but the event that you have coming up.
Oh yes. So the free gift I have is actually like an unconditional love activation. And I'll share that link with you. But what the activation is all about is connecting you to the highest frequency of love, which is like in the 700 range. And we talk about raising our frequencies at the fifth dimension, which is in the 500 range. So being able to connect to unconditional love is going beyond the 500 range, raising you almost to the seventh dimension, right? The 700. And what that allows you to do is open up. It's really being open to receive, right? So I will give that link to you so that you can sit through the energetic activation of raising your vibration, and you can listen to it over and over again. It's a short
Mm.
meditation and a short activation that will guide you back to your heart.
Ooh.
And then the event is called it's going to launch on August 15th. It's called Ascension and New World Wealth. And I've brought together all of these amazing speakers who are in the forefront of the movement of the ascension. The whole drive or vision behind this event is about bringing forth like these new age thoughts, new age ways of living, frequency activations, how you can even move through some of your personal, mental, emotional, physical limitations so that you can access more limitlessness in the visions that you want to create, whether it's through your business, through your relationship, or just personal living.
Beautiful. And we'll have that link in the show notes. And tell us, so the name of the event again, I just want to make sure I get it correct.
Ascension and New World Wealth.
Ascension and New World Wealth. I know it. I'm part of it. And, it's, as we move in through this time, it is different. And so having as many tools as possible is powerful. And I know you've assembled an amazing group of speakers, and I'm just delighted to be part of it. So thank you again. We will have that link in the show notes. So both links will be in the show notes, along with, just how to find you and how to hang out with you. Nicki, final word. What do you want to say? What's the last piece that you want our listeners to hear from you?
Just go get it. Go live your life and go get it.
Live your life and go get it. Beautiful. All right, Nicki Hu, thank you for being here today. Thank you for sharing your wisdom. Thank you for bringing this beautiful frequency to our listeners. And to our listeners, make sure you register Ascension and New World Wealth. Is there a cost to that, Nicki?
It is completely free. We have 2 live days of just pure activations and channeling. So it is worth it to just come.
I'm so bummed I don't get to be part of that. I'm going to be in Europe, but and then I'm going to be in Egypt, but I'm going to be thinking of you guys. So maybe I'll be sending energy from there. So yes, that's completely free, as well as the Pillar of Light Activations.com. That's the other,
that's where you can sign up for the event, but I'll send you the link for the love activation.
Perfect. So we'll get that too. Okay, great. Yay. Thank you. All right. Nicki, thanks again for being here. And we wish you such a prosperous event for all the speakers, for everyone who comes in, just sending many blessings that everything that everyone shares will be amplified in a beautiful way so that everyone can create and receive that which they're meant to create and receive. So thank you. Thank you for being a pillar of light in our world. We appreciate you so, so much.
Thank you so much, Ursula.
Yes. And thanks for having me again as part of the event. It was such a cool interview. I don't remember even all the things we shared. I just know I got off and I was like electrified. So I want to invite people to definitely go listen, because I shared some things that I don't always share on that one. So definitely grab that. And to our listeners all over the world, thank you for hanging out with us. Our intention is to bring you information that will help you take that quantum leap in your business that you've been waiting for. So take those next steps that you're being called to take, and we'll see you next week. Bye for now, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. If you loved what you heard, be sure to leave a review on iTunes so I know what you like and can create content that guides you to up-level your business even more. If you want more strategic business tips, follow me on social media. You'll find me on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, and LinkedIn, and you can visit my website at www.ursulainc.co. I love being on this journey with you and can't wait to connect with you on the next episode. In the meantime, make this your most epic month yet.